Every community, every nation has a trove of key stories, alluring, magnetic narratives that are retold time and again.
From thee, Elizabeth, Queen of England, Ireland, and France.
In Britain, there are stories of royalty, from the past to the present.
鋼の意志のつもりだろうがどこまでもつか。いずれにせよお前は全てを吐くことになる。期待するだけ無駄だ。
In Korean popular culture, the campaign for independence from Japan is a recurrent theme.
Osmanlı'nın yeni topraklar keşfetmekteki arzusu, ilahi kelimetullah inancımızdan feyz almaktadır.
And in Turkey, over the past decade or so, Ottoman history, the opulence, conquests, power, has been one of the most popular storylines across media, but especially on TV.
Turkey is a society in constant change, a society in constant flux, and in such countries, in times of crisis especially, history emerges as a cement, which plays a significant role in creation of identities. The rising interest in Ottoman stories, Ottoman past, in terms of TV dramas, has been a really important phenomenon.
Ottoman-themed shows were not popular up to a point. In fact, the most popular shows were romantic dramas.
Ben Süleyman.
And then suddenly, around 2011, Magnificent Century or Muhteşem Yüzyıl became a big hit. That has been a catalyst for this change, and we're seeing more of the Ottoman-related, Ottoman-inspired shows in Turkish television.
Magnificent Century was an unqualified success, an international hit, watched by tens of millions across the Middle East, Asia, and Latin America. It put the country's TV industry and the dramas it produces, dizies as they're called in Turkish, into the big leagues. That was back in 2011. 4 years later, Diriliş Ertugrul, or Ertugrul's Resurrection, came on the air, confirming the international appeal of dizies and opening up new markets. In Pakistan, for instance,
अगर हमारी मुलाकात न हुई, तो सबके लिए मुश्किल हो जाएगी बहुत.
the series gets blockbuster ratings on PTV, the state broadcaster there.
The plot of Ertugrul is centered around the founders of the Ottoman Empire.
Biz Türküz. İmdiye de korkmadık, imdiden sonra da korkmayacağız.
Telling stories about the founding of the Ottoman Empire. One aspect of the popularity of these series is that they show the Middle East, the Muslim cities at the center of the world, contrasting with portrayals of the West as weak and divided. In Ertugrul, we see the defeat of the Crusaders. These themes of kind of Islamic pride definitely contribute to its popularity, and Pakistan is a good example of that.
Diriliş Ertugrul being popular specifically in the Muslim world is fascinating by itself. There are a couple of elements to look at why. The first one is cultural proximity. There's so much cultural overlap between Middle Eastern neighbors and Turkey. And also, after the success of Magnificent Century, fascination with everything that is related to the Ottoman Empire became very popular, and the consumption of that became cool.
Neo-Ottoman cool is a term that I and my colleague Marwan Kredi coined to reflect that new image of Turkey that started perhaps around 15 years ago. It demonstrated that shift of perception from Turkey as an enemy to Turkey as a model, and Turkish soft power was perhaps at its height with the rise of President Erdogan at the time, and this went hand in hand with the popularity of Turkish popular culture, particularly Turkish TV series.
For President Recep Tayyip Erdogan and his Justice and Development Party, known as the AK Party in Turkey, reconnecting with the Ottoman era has been central to their messaging.
Kültürün her alanında birikimimizi sahiplenecek, değerlerimizi yaşatacak çalışmaları ön plana çıkarmalı ve desteklemeliyiz.
In his more than 15 years in power, Erdogan has pushed a notion of continuity, drawing a line from the Ottoman sultans through to himself.
Türkiye Cumhuriyeti tıpkı daha önceki devletlerimizin birbirlerinin devamı olduğu gibi Osmanlı'nın devamıdır.
Erdogan has done that while locking up his critics in the news media, transforming Turkey into one of the world's leading jailers of journalists. Scores of academics and dissidents have been imprisoned as well. Amidst all of that, the TV dramas Diriliş Ertugrul and a spin-off Payitaht Abdülhamid, both of which were commissioned by Turkey's state broadcaster TRT, have aligned nicely with the AKP's communication strategy.
Ottomanism and Neo-Ottomanism has begun to be an influential domestic and international political instrument. And this has been further consolidated during the AKP era.
Allah için, devlet için, töre için yaşayacağız.
The whole plot of Diriliş Ertugrul is a reenactment of contemporary Turkish politics. The people on the one hand, the enemies of the people on the other hand. The leader on the one hand, the enemies of the leader on the other hand.
Elements of the show Diriliş Ertugrul specifically, and also recently Payitaht Abdülhamid, have been used for pro-AKP and pro-Erdogan initiatives, especially the political rallies and campaigns.
Ve göğsümüzü yırtıp taşan imanımızla tükenmedik.
For example, in the presidential campaign in 2017, this video specifically demonstrates that there's a historical continuity between the Ottoman Empire and President Erdogan.
Bizim nefsimiz mesele değil. Meselemiz millettir, meselemiz vatandır.
For audiences cynical both of Erdogan and of Turkey's role in the region, the comparisons between Ottoman TV heroes and the Turkish president not only fall flat, they're seen as a not-so-subtle flexing of muscles, a signal that Turkey can, through its cultural exports, try to soften public sentiment that has undeniably hardened across a number of Arab nations, not least because of Turkey's role in two wars, in Syria and Libya.
These drama series take added importance because they are often interpreted by governments as part of that Turkish political and military push. And we can see kind of a counter historic interpretation in a number of new big budget series that are produced by Arab countries like the UAE and Egypt and Saudi Arabia.
هؤلاء العثمانيين السفاحين الهمج الذين ما إن دخلوا بلدا إلا نهبوا ثرواتها وقتلوا علماءها واستعبدوا أهلها.
Mamalik al-Nar is one of the more recent examples. It takes up the Mamluk period as its backdrop and kind of shows in a very negative light the Turkish historic intervention in Egypt, and some portrayals mock Turkish historical figures.
Ideological battles fought over the airwaves are not limited to news reporting or political rhetoric. Entertainment informs audiences. It too shapes hearts and minds. By tapping into a fascination for the Ottoman era, Turkish dizis have grown into an export industry, a cultural weapon for a country out to resurrect its history, if not its empire.